Chapter 6. SKYLARK. Patricia McLachlan. Can you tell I'm struggling with this recording stuff? Anyway, here we go again. Chapter 6. In the last chapter, Sarah realized that their friend Caroline had to leave. The ride home from town was quiet, the wind blowing dust around us. "Any news in town?" Sarah asked wearily. "Some news," said Papa. "Good news." "Good news? What good news?" "Your birthday is coming soon. Maddie wrote to remind me." "She didn't." "She did," said Papa. "So what do you want? Jewels? Silk? Travel?" Sarah laughed. "Travel? Where would I go, Jacob?" "Somewhere green," said Papa. "Somewhere cool." Sarah looked at Papa. "Do you think I would leave?" asked Sarah softly. Papa was silent. "Can we sing, Sarah?" asked Caleb. "It's too hot, Caleb," she said. "Too hot for singing." Papa flicked the reins over the horses' backs, but they wouldn't go faster. "It's even too hot for Jack and old Bess," he said. I leaned back against the empty grain sacks and took out my journal, but it lay in my lap. Caleb moved over close to me. "Why aren't you writing?" "There's nothing new to write," I said, lifting my hair off my neck. "There's nothing good, just the heat. The fields are dried up. There's no rain." "There will be rain," said Caleb. "Papa said so." He pointed. "That was the field where the wildflowers grew. Remember when Sarah came? The pond was full then. We went swimming and fell asleep in the grass." I stared at Caleb, and then out at the fields, remembering when the fields were green, remembering the days were cool, remembering when Sarah came by train and Caleb and I were afraid that she'd miss the sea. Suddenly, Caleb stood up. "Papa, fire!" In the west meadow, a thread of smoke rose. "Hold on!" yelled Papa. Sarah dropped to the wagon floor, and we held on as the horses raced for the yard. Papa jumped down. "Soak the grain sacks in the pond water. Hurry!" Sarah and Papa ran to beat out the flames. We could see red flames in the dry grasses now. Caleb and I soaked the sacks, then ran closer to the fire, water dripping down our clothes. "Stay back," warned Papa. "There's a wind coming." Lottie and Nick ran from the barn barking. And then suddenly Sarah screamed. Her skirt was on fire. Papa turned and threw Sarah to the ground and smothered the flames with a sack. He pulled her up. "Are you all right?" When Sarah nodded, Papa began to shout at her. "I told you to stay back. You never listen. I told you there was wind." Caleb took my hand. Sarah began beating the fire, now nearly out. "You can't put out the fire alone," she shouted. "Stop yelling at me." And then there was only smoke. The grass is all black and smoldering. Papa beat one small flame. He stood back, and there was silence. Nick and Lottie stopped barking. "We'll have to watch for fires all the time now, even at night," said Papa, out of breath. Sarah and Papa began walking back to the house. Sarah's hair was down. Her clothes were wet and sooty. Papa looked at her and then away. "You're a sight, you know," he said softly. Sarah didn't answer. Papa looked at her again, then smiled a small smile. "You look beautiful," he said. I held my breath. I had never heard Papa say such a thing to Sarah. Sarah kept on walking. Then she turned and looked at him. "Do you really think I would leave?" she said. "Just for somewhere cool? Somewhere green?" This time, Papa was silent. The two of them walked away from the blackened grass, past the dogs, and past us just as if we weren't there. And that night, when Papa went out to close the barn door, Sarah ran after him. I saw them from my window. Papa took Sarah in his arms and kissed her, and they turned around and around and around, dust swirling over them in a cloud. My dreams are cool. They are cool in the color of the sky before rain, a dark and peaceful blue. The clouds edged in black before the rain comes, and the earth smells sharp and sweet. I remember that smell. The days are hot and still now. Only my dreams are cool.